his biggest strength is also his biggest weakness. It's his kryptonite. If he's hitting shots, he looks like an NBA All-Star caliber player. But if he's not hitting shots, he looks like a straight up bum. Time to bring out my jet ski. Well, I guess it's time to talk about Emoni Bates and how he's been doing up until this point. And I'm still flabbergasted at the amount of people that are claiming and they're chattering about, oh, Emoni Bates was the biggest steal of the draft. The Cleveland Cavaliers got a steal and blah, 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 blah. If you've been keeping up with sports even a little bit, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Everybody's saying Emoni's a steal. And my opinion on him in the situation, even with his summer league games, haven't changed a single bit, and it's not going to change. No, he's not a steal. He got drafted right where he should have been drafted. Here's what y'all don't understand about Emoni Bates. Yes, he's 6'10". That's a positive. He checks off that box. Yes, he's one of the best shooters in the draft. He can shoot lights out, but that's it. That's all he can really do. His shot selection when it comes to any player I've covered over the past 5, 6, 7, 8 years, it's the worst and it's not even close. But here's the thing with Emoni. When he's on, it looks great. But when he's off, it looks terrible. His shot selection is terrible. And when I say he can only shoot, I don't actually mean that. But that's really the main thing he does. He drives every now and then, but that's few and far between. What he likes to do is shoot the ball and get to his spots. That's all he really likes to do. And here's what these casuals don't understand. Emoni Bates had terrible measurements at the draft combine. And to go on top of that, he's not very athletic. Whoa, 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 hold on. Hold your horses, partner, before you run to the comment section and say, Matt, what do you mean he's not athletic? I mean what I said. He's not very athletic. Look at his vertical and compare it to some other people in the draft. It wasn't that great. Is he athletic compared to me and you and your average Joe? Yes, but compared to the Thompson twins and some of the other NBA players like Scoot Henderson and all the other point guards that got drafted real high in shooting guards, no, not that athletic. He's a defensive liability. Some people have stated he has attitude problems and he's really not a team player. That's some obvious stuff though, and I know it seems like I'm ragging on the dude hard, but I'm just trying to explain to people why he fell in the draft and why these NBA teams aren't high on him. Regardless of that though, in the summer league, especially yesterday, he had a good game. And I don't know what it is. I guess it's because they labeled him as the chosen one, as like a 9th and 10th grader in high school, and he was the #1 player for like 5 straight years. But all these social media companies and everybody, they try hyping this dude up so much. And I don't have a problem with it, but I really don't understand the fathom with him. The only thing I can assume is they're just hyping him up based off of what he did years ago and all that hype and potential. But in last night's Summer League game, Emoni Bates had 21 points, 2 blocks, and you see right here, 2 steals, and was 7 for 11 from the field and 5 for 8 on threes. Not too shabby. And just like I was saying, everybody's like, oh yeah, Emoni Bates, he's a steal, he's going off, he's the best player, blah, 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 blah. You already know. But let me show y'all his official stat line. You see right here, 7 for 11, 5 for 8, 4 rebounds, 1 assist. We'll talk about that in just a second. 21 points. A great game. But the night before against the Toronto Raptors, 5 for 12, 1 for 5 on threes, 8 rebounds, 2 assists, 12 points. Not exactly bad, but not exactly great. And then last but not least on Friday, which was January 7th. Yeah, January 7th. He was 5 for 18. Yep, you see that correctly. 5 for 18 from the field, 4 for 13 on threes. Good gosh, I didn't know he shot 13 threes. That's crazy. 6 rebounds, 0 assists, and 16 points. Yeah, so I just find it rather intriguing that everybody's hyping up Emoni after having that great game last night, but nobody critiqued him or said anything about his game 4 days ago. And also 2 days ago where he was 5 for 12 and had 9 points. But all of a sudden, he has one good game. Everybody's like, oh yeah, still the draft, Emoni Bates, he's back. You want to know what I got to say about all of this? Emoni Bates in his past 3 games and his performance up until this date? Emoni Bates is playing like Emoni Bates. This 3-game sample size is how Emoni Bates' entire career has gone dating back to Memphis. He's going to have a terrible game, then he's going to have a decent game, then he's going to have a really good game where we're like, man, this dude can be one of the best players in the NBA maybe, and then he's going to have another terrible game. And believe me when I say this, I would love to give this kid his flowers because if he plays up to his potential, he could possibly be one of the greatest basketball players to ever walk on this earth. Seriously, I believe that he has the potential of Kevin Durant. He has a very high ceiling. But, and I have a big but, unfortunately, he also has a very low ceiling. This is the riskiest player you could have picked in the NBA draft, and that's why he fell so far. It's a risk. But I ain't gonna lie, with the Cavaliers taking him at 48 in the second round, even if he is a bust or doesn't live up to the hype and expectations, who cares? You didn't waste a first-round pick on him. But my biggest thing with Emoni Bates is I guess a lot of people are just now learning about him and keeping up with him because he just got into the NBA. But you better get used to this. The highs with this kid are going to be really high, but the lows with him are also going to be really low. He's going to have some games you're like, man, this dude might be the next Kevin Durant, but he's also going to have some games where you question how he even made it this far. And I think a main reason for his lack of development, it dates back to his dad making him leave his high school and reclassify and do all that crazy nonsense bull crap. That's what I call it. Bull crap. If you've been watching my Emoni Bates videos, you'll know this. I've always put the blame on his dad and just the people around him encouraging him to make terrible decisions. His dad actually took him out of high school, created their own Ipsy Academy, Ipsy Prep, and that was just a complete mess. It was pretty much Emoni Bates was supposed to be the face of that school, and they were going to play other big-time schools. And then to go on top of that, they reclassify him when he shouldn't have reclassified. His dad got it into his own head that he's so good he could dominate college competition a year early, which we know how that went. The biggest detriment to Emoni Bates' career was reclassifying. Ever since then, it's been downhill. It messed up his development so much, and then he gets to Memphis, it doesn't work out, and instead of manning up and saying, you know what, I had a bad year and I want to learn from it, he ran away. And I don't have a problem if you want to transfer, I really don't, but my problem is you went to Eastern Michigan. No competition, that was one of the worst teams in the country. He just went there so he could be a star player and jack up shots. And I know what you're sitting there saying, Matt, why you bring this up? It's in the past, it doesn't matter. No, the reason I'm bringing that up is when you play at Eastern Michigan and you run for competition, you don't learn how to play with other great players. At Memphis, he played with great players, but he didn't do good. And he goes to Eastern Michigan, and no, he didn't really play with great players. My area of concern with Mr. Emoni here is I don't know where and I don't know how he's going to fit in the NBA. This kid just wants to shoot and he just wants to score. Doesn't care about defense. And I really don't want to say he doesn't care about passing, but look at the numbers. He's averaging like 1.2 assists in 3 games. And then you'll have people say stuff like this, oh, once he gets the NBA body, it's over. Okay, whatever. And then also people saying, oh, Emoni Bates is really going to surprise some people. This dude was labeled as the chosen one. He was the #1 ranked player in high school for 5 years. What do you mean surprise people? What does that even mean? Anybody that's actually been keeping up with Emoni Bates, you know this kid can play. And I'll sit up here all day long and tell you Emoni Bates is one of the most talented basketball players in the world. But my problem is Emoni Bates is still playing like Emoni Bates. His biggest strength is also his biggest weakness. It's his kryptonite. If he's hitting shots, he looks like an NBA All-Star caliber player. But if he's not hitting shots, he looks like a straight-up bum. He is a guy where his entire play style, it revolves around him scoring points. What I mean by that, if you're a hooper, you know what I'm talking about. When you get that first bucket of the game, you turn it up on defense. Come on now, we all did that. Don't act like you didn't. All hoopers are the same. Y'all ain't different, man. When you get that first bucket, hit a couple of free throws, you like, all right, you start slapping the floor, clapping your hands, you turn up. That's how Emoni is. If he's playing good on offense, he's going to play good on defense. But if he's not hitting his shots, the other parts of his game, it decreases. Look, man, you shouldn't be surprised by Emoni Bates going 7 for 11, 5 for 8, and dropping 21 points. I'm not surprised. I wouldn't even be surprised if he had a 50 ball in the summer league. I've seen this dude play. I'm telling you straight up, that dude can play. But at the same time, if he goes out there in a couple of days and goes 2 for 21, I still wouldn't be surprised. That's Emoni Bates. If you've been keeping up with this guy, you know that's been the remedy of his career the past couple of years. I want to end off the video with this, though, and it's an interesting perspective. Let me know your thoughts down below. I think he would thrive and succeed way more if he was a spot-up shooter and pretty much a 3-and-D type of guy. The reason his field goal percentage is terrible some games is because he takes terrible shots. But when this guy is catching the ball in rhythm and he's spotting up, he hits 8 out of 10. And what does that go back to? Development. For example, we'll use Brandon Miller because Miller shoots a lot of threes as well. Brandon Miller, dating back to Alabama, I know it's been rough for him in the summer league, but even in the summer league, he takes pretty smart shots. In the summer league, has he missed a bunch of them? Yeah, but they're not terrible shots. He's just missing them. And at Alabama, outside the NCAA tournament, because that was rough for Miller, he was pretty much shooting catch and shoot or maybe 1 dribble pull-ups. That's it. Notice how Brandon Miller never does any of those fancy dribble moves or none of that. He's a simple player, but sometimes in life, simple, it's better. Emoni Bates at certain times is a little too flashy and he gets carried away. If he can clean that up, he'd be pretty dang good, but it doesn't look like he's cleaned that up. And don't be fooled by him having a really good game last game. It's just because he hit his shots. In a couple of games, we'll probably go 5 for 20 again. I'm very curious. Let me know your thoughts down below, though. But